SportsChatPlace.com and PickDogs.com. Sunday, July 5th. Oh, man, I messed up the title. I wrote July 6th. Oh, well, we'll have to fix this. Let's see what happens, see if they let me do it. Wow, how did I do that? Anyways, we got all sorts of action going on today. We've got NASCAR. We've got... let's see if it lets me do it. Well, it says that it updated, but we'll see if it updates in the system. Anyways, we got NASCAR today. We got the Brickyard 400. That means Jeter's here. We've got the Puck Dogs. We've got some soccer. Rod's hit his birdcage for Friday, which carried over into Saturday. So for the guys that came on talking about him missing his parlay, I would say suck it. And then we have... Steve Monahan here to talk about some interesting sports news. We didn't go over it ahead of time, so I think he knows exactly where I'm going with this. Anyway, not a lot to worry about, but you know what? I'm in a little bit of a crabby mood for some reason. I'm not even sure why. I shot 79 yesterday. I swung the clubs great. It could have easily been a 69. That's how well I was shooting, and hopefully it carries over to today. But anyways, we'll bring in Steve Monahan, and... oh, for some reason Rod showed up in that one. That was weird. But we'll fix it and we'll get Steve here. Yeah, it's one of those mornings. Steve, good morning.
Good morning, Mitch. How art thou?
I'm surly. But anyways.
Yes, you are.
I am a little surly today. Well, you know, it just is what it is. And, yeah. You know, we have so is anyone going to notice that David Price isn't playing this season? I mean, no. Is there anything different than any other season? You know, it's like, exactly. I'm not playing this season. You're still in the league. You know, I mean, okay, seriously.
David. Have a nice off season.
Yeah, bye. And it's you're going to pitch the same amount of games you basically pitched last year. I mean, this guy had the $30 million contract in Boston. When he did pitch, he got lit up like a Christmas tree on a regular basis. You want to talk about a fireworks display, you put Price out on the mound, and at that price point, you have to figure $30 million that, you know, this adds to the bottom line of an average ticket price. This is like, that's a number that has to add, because they have more than, they don't have 30 million fans that attended. So it's more than $1 per ticket that's going to David Price's salary, right? It's got to be, right? So you figure, what, $3 million for Fenway? Or is it $2 million? I don't know. Fenway's packed all the time. They sell out. It's American League, so they don't count ticket sales in attendance, but ticket sales are ticket sales. But they only count attendance in the stands, but they sell more tickets than are attended, because I know I was there on Mother's Day. I was in Boston last year, and it was horrific weather. It was sideways rain, you know, and cold and all that stuff, and they were still going to play the game. I happened to meet up with Tim Pitney before the game. He was on his way. So, yeah, let's just say, you know, one inebriated fan and one wife guiding him through the aisles, and probably give him a little bit of a stink eye at certain points. But yeah, and Robert Fitzpatrick drank a white sangria.
Sweaty lumberjack?
No, he drank a white sangria, and definitely meme worthy. The pictures that were taken.
But to your point, David Price, nobody will miss him. The Red Sox got to be thrilled they got rid of that contract and shipped him off to L.A. So
the Red Sox have a history of shipping these contracts to L.A.
They do.
They've shipped a lot of these big contracts to L.A. over the years. You know, I think that the Dodgers were looking for Price more for a late, they don't need him. The Dodgers do have a deep enough pitching staff and enough young guys in there where they really don't need David Price. They really need Arias to instead of being the guy with the world of potential, to be the guy who is Fernando, like they said he was going to.
Sure.
And you want to throw that this guy's going to be the next Fernando on him, well, that's yours to deal with. It's like, personally, Steve, I'm sure, Steve has a son, so I'm sure he never tells him, you're the next Fernando, if he pitches, right? I mean, it's really a tall order there to live up to. And, Arias, a nice pitcher, but not quite Fernando.
So switching gears over to Yankee Stadium yesterday, I don't know if you guys saw the highlight of Tanaka taking a blistering line drive from Giancarlo Stanton off the head. It's actually scary when you watch it. But he got out of the hospital today, and more Yankee news. DJ LeMahieu tested positive. I was kind of hoping Giancarlo Stanton would test positive instead of DJ LeMahieu, because he's a really good player. Freddie Freeman on the Atlanta Braves is tested positive. So, I mean, those are two all-star players. So we shall see if the trend continues.
Yeah, I think the trend is going to continue, and I think what we are going to start to see is more of a reinstatement plan that's going to be put into place as to exactly how to recirculate these guys back into the lineup, which begs the question, which always has begged the question to me, is why in the hell do you need like the 10 weeks of spring training or whatever like that when these guys seem to just be able to pick themselves in and out of the lineup on a regular basis all season long?
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I've played, thousands of baseball games in my, since I was a kid till, an adult. And, back in the day, it was play football. You get 2 hours off, you pick up a basketball. You get 2 hours off, you pick up a baseball.
Yeah,
it doesn't take that long to, acclimate yourself to that sport.
I'm not really understanding or feeling a lot of this stuff. And, so, a lot of other guys tentative now about playing the season and things like that, and these baseball players. So, fast forward to, first week of September, and, in a 60-game season, I'd imagine the standings are going to be fairly competitive heading into, a month into the season, a month and a half into the season. The season will be half over, and a lot of teams are still going to be in it. There's going to be some teams that are already out.
Sure.
But there's going to be a lot of teams that are still in this. What do you think?
I agree.
What do you think some of these guys sitting at home are going to be thinking, when, they've already made an announcement that they're sitting out? Does that mean that they are gone for the season, or does that mean that they can rejoin the team later? I'm not really sure exactly how this works, because if these guys are truly professionals, that means, they are professionals. That most of the guys, in professional sports, and Ray Lewis used to talk about this all the time, and I haven't heard him speak in a long time, and I know he's still on TV, but I don't watch any of the shows anymore. But Ray Lewis used to always say this all the time, and he used to say that, most players in the league, that the bulk of them, as much as they fight over a dime here and there, most of them would trade a big chunk of that to win. And every player, he said, even the ones that are on the 2-14 teams, will say their team is the best. He's like, we're the best. It's like, you were 2-14. He's like, yeah, but we had, it's like, he said they will still argue to the grave that their team is the best. And it's like, At what point is David Price just so soft at this point? I mean, is he just so pathetic?
Yes, I agree.
I mean, is that where we're at? Is that
it's
really...
not even a debate. I've felt that way for years about David Price. I mean, his demeanor even suggests that. But he's made a ton of money in his career. He was a really good pitcher when he was young, blistering fastball and so on and so forth. But I just sense Price, like you said, he hasn't pitched a real good big game in a long time, way overpaid. So if he wants to go home, they'll take your bat and glove and go home,
So Freddie Freeman, the biggest name so far,
to
go down.
bona fide all-star, real good guy,
Yeah, no,
a centerpiece of the Atlanta Braves.
he's the clubhouse leader. He's the guy.
He is.
He's the guy. He's the guy on the Braves.
The man in Atlanta,
He might not
there's
be
no
their
question.
best. He might not be their most exciting player or even their best player anymore.
Right.
But he
Right.
certainly is the guy. He's the Cal Ripken. He's the Yachty. He's kind of
He's
the
a
guy.
special talent,
Right.
and we wish him a speedy
He's the
recovery.
guy. He's the
so.
Jeter. He's the
Yeah.
the clubhouse guy.
Absolutely. But I think, obviously,
But
like
2
we
weeks
talked
they're
about, I think
talking.
there's going to be many,
He
more
might make the
players
season.
follow.
He might make the
Getting-
season. He might make the season.
That's true.
But apparently he does have symptoms. And
He's not feeling well. His wife said that he never gets sick, and this really hit him hard. So we'll see, if he comes back anytime soon. But he's an important piece, obviously, for Atlanta. Then that goes to your point of like the NL East could be a logjam because Atlanta is going to lose that production from Freddie Freeman.
All right. Well, I think that pretty much covers where we're at with things.
Joey Chestnut, 75 yesterday, the new record.
I gave out the over on the show. I know
Okay.
most of the people were on the under in that one. I think they did not read the weather report that the hot dog eating contest was inside, and Chestnut has been eating outdoors for the last 16 years, and I tell you, it can get pretty warm and muggy, and I tell you, Brooklyn doesn't smell too nice on those really hot days. I used to live there, and I love Brooklyn, but gotta say, it's part of the character, right?
It's true. There are some smells that waft by in Brooklyn that you got.
I love the smell of Brooklyn in the summer. I'll tell you what really smells in the summer is the New York City subway system, man. It's
God.
Whoa.
True.
Whoa. It's
Smelly and steamy.
Oh, it is nothing fun about it, man. I don't miss that one bit. I used to commute to work on the subway, take the F train to the A train. Oh man, to the World Trade Center every day. Oh God, I hate that.
Oh, yeah.
Man,
It's brutal.
man, is it brutal. Anyway, speaking of brutal, we're gonna bring in Jeter and Rod. Trade some paint here with some NASCAR. Steve will see in just a bit.
You got it.
Oh, I got Ruffalo, not Rod. I wonder what's going on here with the with my system. Rod, welcome to the show.
Morning.
Morning, Jeff. Got the Tennessee
Morning.
flag waving. So, guys, swing and a miss yesterday. I mean, it's one thing to lose, but I'm going to make a statement here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. We may be looking at one of the emerging future stars of NASCAR in Briscoe. Jeff, yes or no?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this.
Yep.
All right, we saw him, and I kind of like rode off, after that first race when he was behind, and he clearly had the fastest car, and then the next time out, right, he came out and he smashed everybody. But now to do it on a road course, right, and clearly the best of the Xfinity, and he clearly can hang with the big boys. He's not going to get like the J.J. Yaley car, right? I mean, he's going to get the Harvick car, the Jimmy Johnson car, right? That's where Briscoe is headed. Tell me, I don't know, is he on a certain team that he's not going to get that car? But he is a guy that's going to come up and get that Hamlin, Busch, right? He's going to get one of those type, Chase Elliott type deals, right?
Yeah. I mean, if it's not him and Ross Chastain coming up by the Xfinity Series, like I could definitely see Chase going to in the Cup Series with a big team, big ride here. Maybe not next year, but in the next 2 to 3 years, you'll see that name. I hope to see his name in the Cup Series.
Yeah, I could see this guy in the winner's circle in Daytona or Talladega or any of these other places too, because this is you see it once in a while, where a guy just all of a sudden it's like, oh my, it's like he's just everywhere. It was kind of like Dan Marino when he came onto the field for his rookie season and preseason. For us at Miami, it was Jim Kelly, fourth string quarterback, redshirt freshman, goes into Penn State and throws 5 touchdown passes, and every one of them just a bomb. It was like, this is something a little different, and I think Chase Briscoe has a chance, and we're not ready to name him, the Intimidator or anything yet, right? Or Richard Petty. He's not that yet, but here is a guy who's sitting on a world of potential, and my guess is one of those big teams is going to spend a lot of money to get him up there, and then spend a lot of money on him, because I believe this guy could be the meal ticket for the next 10 years for somebody.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what I texted Jeff after the race. I was like, I'm just gonna take Briscoe blindly the rest of these races. He's just on fire. And then I said, I just can't wait to see him watching him in a Cup car.
Yeah,
he's going to be definitely huge.
This guy's an emerging. I mean, he's an emerging superstar, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, this has the potential to really, really be something. You see it in sports every once in a blue moon. In baseball, you don't really see it come out of the minor leagues too often. It's the guys that go straight to the majors, and there's only been a handful of those. In the NBA, you see it once in a blue moon. You see an Anthony Davis come out, and it's just like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you only
this guy plays a little bit differently than everybody else, right? And Kobe, it's like, I'm not saying that he's there yet, but he's the first guy since we've been doing our show that has that kind of potential, right?
And it's good too. It's good this year that we're not seeing a lot of Cup regulars step down and race a race here and there. It's very few and far between. And so it's really helping Chase get his name out there. But even at that, you go back and look at that Darlington race, man, he just outright beat Kyle Busch, like, on his own will. That was not, so.
No, this guy, I mean, I'm in. I'm a Briscoe guy. He's my guy. I'm in, This is my guy for the next 10 years. I'm good.
Take him blindly. Yeah.
No, I think he goes to the Cup Series and you do the same thing. And we'll be talking about him with the Harvicks and Johnsons and Bush and saying, he's the guy to beat. I just don't see how somebody doesn't give him a ton of money and put a ton of money into a car to dominate, the way that we see that this guy can absolutely do it. And it's like, we've seen it in other sports where guys come up like that. But anyways, we have some races going on today. We got the big boys going at it in the Cup Series, of course. One of the big races of the big races in NASCAR, the Daytona 500, Talladega, and the Brickyard. These are the big, right? These are the big 3, or is there another one too that you would throw in the mix there?
You call it the modern era of the crown jewels, if you will, of the sport. Daytona 500, Coke 600, Charlotte. Brickyard 400 and Darlington 500.
The Grand Slam of racing.
So,
the Grand Slam. Yeah, so this is definitely one of the slams. This one is one of the majors. As they would say in golf, and a lot of the same characters that we've been looking at are in on it. Who are we looking at? Because, so the thing about the Brickyard is when they first started racing there, they said that the speedway was too narrow to pass, right, for passing. But they seem to pass okay there, right? They seem to do okay. Who's this year's? Jeff Gordon seemed to always do really well at the Brickyard. Who's the Jeff Gordon now, Is it Harvick?
I mean, yeah, I'm all in on Harvick. I mean, I got plus 500 earlier this week. He's starting 11th. I mean, he shouldn't have any problem getting towards the front today. We just raced at Pocono. That's the closest comp to Indianapolis on the circuit. Saw Harvick win back on Sunday, on a Saturday. We saw, and then the other guy I like, today, Denny Hamlin. He won plus 600. He won back on Sunday. So I see these two guys definitely doing good today.
Rod, who are you looking at? I mean, these are, the big time players. I always am a believer, big time players show up in the big time games. And this is big. For some of the guys, this is as big as it gets, It's like a win at the Brickyard could be life changing, for a younger driver, It could be career changing, life changing. It's Wheaties box stuff, a win at the Brickyard. It is. I remember seeing Jeff Gordon on the cover of Wheaties box with the Brickyard trophy. It happened. Rod?
So for me today, I'm exactly with Jeff. I got Harvick. Took him earlier in the week at plus 500. He's down to about plus 350 now. I've seen. Also taking Kyle Busch at plus 500. Another driver who does well at the Brickyard. Those are the two guys I'm going with, Harvick or Busch. I really think Harvick wins it and gets his fourth win of the year and ties Hamlin. I think we're going to have a nice battle between Harvick and Hamlin for the Cup Championship this year. I think Hamlin takes it though. In a group, another bet I'm making. In a group bet, I'm taking Amarola to beat Eric Jones, Kurt, and Amarola finishes ahead of those guys, plus 350.
Any longer shots on the board here that have a chance, like, some of the guys that, like that could possibly have a breakthrough moment here at the Brickyard? The Brickyard isn't usually where that happens, right? This is not a track where the guy comes out of left field. This is a track, and there's a reason, aside from it being Indianapolis Motor Speedway, not necessarily known as a place where, a guy wins his first race or something. It's just not that place. It's just, it's I think it's more likely to happen at Daytona than here. But
Yeah, I'll go ahead as far as longer shots. I like Clint Boyer got him at plus 2,600. He's finished last two races here at Indy. I think he's had at least top 15, maybe top 10. I didn't have it in front of me, but I like the Boyer call. Down as far as a matchup goes, I like Ryan Newman over Ricky Stenhouse Jr. at minus 115. And I like Brad Keselowski at having a top 5 at plus 125. And I was right there with Rod on the Amarola in that group bet over, I think it's like Kurt Busch and Eric Jones and a couple others, what he mentioned. And one thing to Rod's point on Kyle Busch, I'd like to say, Kyle's been struggling this year. There's no doubt about it. When he was at Pocono last weekend, he had one of the fastest cars before he got in that wreck, even on Sunday. I'm telling you, I'm starting to come around where I think Kyle may start taking off here and kind of positively regressing back towards his mean. He was, like I said, he was just fast in Pocono last weekend. Not saying he's going to be there today, but I just got a feeling on Kyle Busch too that he's going to get it turned around here.
Any chances on a Kozlowski or we got Logano on the pole here. Any of these guys, any chance at all? Ryan Newman's a guy that gets mentioned a lot, but we don't hear about him winning a lot of races. And Blaney starting right there with Harvick, so a chance to maybe lock up with them, pair Fords.
I buy a longer shot. I took Elliott. Give me Chase Elliott at plus 1,000. This is my doggy that I'm going with.
I guess, I could see Logano. I mean, he's on the pole today, and I could see him getting that clean air out in front and, definitely leading the majority of the first stage. We kind of saw that same thing happen at Pocono over the last couple of races, and I could see that happening here at Indianapolis as well. But We'll see how this pit strategy works out today as well. And I'm right there with you, Mitch, on Brad Keselowski. He just comes out of nowhere and will win a race, So,
Well, he's just there, and he's with Harvick, and the two other Fords. They're kind of really close in the starting grid, and just like the Toyotas, Busch and Truex and Hamlin, those three kind of in a group in the starting grid. So, you have to remember that in NASCAR, in the big race, in the Cup Series especially, the guys have to work together. It's the only chance they have, right? They have to work together, And, if you start together, it kind of sets up for that right out of the gate. But, no races are ever won on lap 35, That's for damn sure. There's never been a race won on lap 35.
It's just like we saw last week. Kyle Busch was out leading or whatever, and then here comes this slower lap car and just screws that all up, and Blaney run into him. So, you just never know when something will happen in NASCAR. These things are mechanical. Tires blow, engines malfunction, wrecks happen.
Any chance they show like highlights of some old Indianapolis 500s, and we catch a Jackie Stewart saying Emerson Fittipaldi, because that would really make my day.
If you search it right, probably.
Yeah, we'll have to find the YouTube. Emerson Fittipaldi.
Maybe in a rain delay if they run out of content.
Yes. They'll show Jeff Gordon kissing the bricks for an hour. Anyways,
yeah, probably.
So we're all good on our. You guys all feel good with those picks? Isn't there 2 races today? No, just the one. Just the one. Okay, so our picks.
There's an Indy race today.
So both the guys, we don't cover Indy or Formula One. We could, but no one would care. We have both the guys like Harvick and Hamlin. Maybe a Keselowski kicker. I'm kind of in on that one too, just on a pure value play. Last week I got sucked in on Kurt Busch, who led the race for like the first 35 laps or something, and then I don't know, he just kept going backwards. It was just crazy. It's like, I love when they show the seconds and you're kind of like, oh, I'm only 4 seconds back, and then they show it again. It's like you're 18 seconds. It's like, how in the hell is he 23 seconds back? It's like. Anyway, so I've watched a lot of NASCAR these days, and a lot more than I have in a long time. And I gotta say
one. Oh, sorry.
I'm not big on Fox's
one I didn't mention. We were talking about Amarola in that group. I like him to, if you want to take a shot at a top 5, you can get it. I got it at plus 550 earlier in the week. I think Amarola had a pretty fast car both days at Pocono last weekend, and not sure about him winning, but I could definitely see him top 5.
How about Justin Algier? Algier? How do you say it? Algier?
Justin Allgaier.
Allgaier, starting in the 4 spot in the 48 Chevy. No chance?
Nah.
All right. Jeter says Slim just left town.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm starting to like NASCAR, I just like having something to talk about. I love the terminology. I just love the terminology. I do. I just love it. It's like they're working together. It's like
Allgaier in the 48. I mean, that car's been like pretty much the 15th to 20th place car this year. I mean, look where Jimmy had it, and so I don't see it. Could he crack top 15? Absolutely. This race could go crazy, and he could be crack top 10. But if everything goes pretty smoothly, like we think it will, yeah, it's
Anyone think the announcers take the whole concept of tapping bumpers a little lightly? Who tapped his bumper a little bit? It's like kind of like he went up and got a cup of coffee. It's like tapped his bumper a little bit. Anyway, speaking of tapping bumpers, we're gonna bring in Ruffalo with Rod and talk some soccer picks. Jeff, we'll see you in just a couple minutes. Once again, I don't know. I'm all off today. All right. Whoa, that's not my right camera. So we got Chris, me, and Rod. There we go. Anyways, good morning, Chris. How are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, Ben. Don't mean to touch your bumper, but heading into today's soccer action, lots of games again on the card, mostly Serie A out there, but we do have some Liga, and we do have some Premier League as well. Rod, one horse away here from taking home his over parlay that he gave out yesterday. And if those of you, if you tailed, you could always hedge out. You know, if you wanted to, probably a way to hedge out if you wanted to, and just collect your winnings and hit both sides. Or if you find the right line, you know, give a goal here or there, or take a goal here or there. You could probably hit both sides. I always loved the middle, right? It's always one of my favorite things in all of sports, right? To hit a middle where you have one side with 1 point spread, the other side with another point spread, and it lands right smack in the middle. I think we hit a bunch of those on the half-timers, right, last year in football. So, yeah, I think we middled out on a ton of games and hit a bunch.
Yeah.
But, anyways, we got soccer action. Chris, where are you going to get your kicks?
I've only got 3 games today. My first one, though, I'm going to Manchester City against Southampton. I love Manchester City here. They're minus 1.5, that even money. Manchester City just coming off of that big win over Liverpool, but I think instead of a letdown here, I think they carry it forward. I think they finish the season strong. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't lose a game the rest of the way, so I'll take Manchester City minus 1.5.
Every time I hear Manchester City, I still think of Ricky Hatton. You know, it's just I can't.
Yeah.
It's just you know. Is there still only one Ricky Hatton, Rod?
I don't know. He got knocked silly, so he may be seeing 2.
He's got knocked silly a couple times.
Yeah.
What do we got, Rod?
I've got a few. I've got a Syria, another 6-game Syria overs today. I got 1 under on that, and then I got a 3-team birdcage
All right,
here. So we'll start with it.
Start with whatever you like.
We'll stick with the Liverpool here, -2 at plus 125. I think they beat Aston Villa here 3-0, 4-0. After their butt kicking they got last game, I think they wake up and they play a little better than what they did last time and get a win here. Take Liverpool -2 plus 125. I like. Then also I'm going on that one. Barcelona versus Villarreal. I'm going to take over 2.5. I think we're going to get some goals in that game. Easily go over 2.5. And the last one on this 3-teamer, at Atlanta, -1.5. I see them easily winning by 2 goals today at plus 100. Parlay goes to -1.5. Liverpool -2. Barcelona over 2.5. You get a plus 822 on that one.
For mine, I'll just give mine out quick, and then go to Rod's 6-teamer. I like Manchester City minus 1.5, like I said. Napoli Roma. Napoli Roma. Both teams to score at minus 170. I think there's goals coming on both sides in that game. And I'm going to take my third game, Villarreal, in a draw, double chance against Barcelona. I like Villarreal on the money line personally, but I want to cover it off with the draw as well, just in case. I think Barcelona's in trouble here with all these reports about Lionel Messi not being happy. So take Villarreal to add to their misery. So I'll take Manchester City minus 1.5. Napoli, Roma, both teams to score, and Villarreal a draw, double chance against Barcelona. Pay about plus 575.
Rod?
Alrighty, here's I'll call it a double bird cage. All these games are in Syria. The first one up, we're going to go Inter versus Bologna. Take over 2.5. Brescia versus Verona. Take under 3.5 in that one. Fiorentina. Take over 2.5 in that. Sampdoria versus Spal. Take over 1.5 in that one. Udinese versus Genoa. Genoa. Take over 1.5. And at Atlanta, take over 2.5. Parlay all those 6 up, and you get a plus 841.
All right. There we have it. So we're going to bring everyone back in. We're going to do our roundup section. We're going to start with Chris. Wow, it's not Chris. Chris. He looks like he is frozen or sleeping. This is going really well.
Sleeping with his eyes open.
Let's leave. Let's just we'll just leave him up.
You're getting sleepy. Sleepy.
We lost Ruffalo altogether. He'll be back. Anyways, we'll go with
Wake up, you won't remember you were on a podcast.
There it is.
He's back. We'll go back to Chris. Here we go. Chris, we were absolutely having a great time at your expense. But well,
I will gladly take my lumps on that one. Who's doing the wrap up?
Yes.
Doing it again.
For me, my takeaway just from watching day one of the TBT yesterday is just that I wouldn't mind seeing the Elam ending implemented in the NBA maybe going forward as opposed to just leaving it in the All-Star game. I think it takes away the drawn out process of fouling at the end of the game, and it forces the defense to get stops, which is primarily what you're going to want to do when you're down 5 or 6 points in that situation. So the Elam ending, I think, is definitely something that should be looked at going forward.
All righty. Go to that's supposed to be. All right. We will go to Rod.
I just have a little quick little thingy for me. Hey, it's been 1 week. Today is day 7 of today is only day 6. And I don't know, I find it pretty easy after day 6. It's
Of what? Quitting smoking, right?
You gotta
fill everybody
smoking,
in.
yeah. I don't
gotta fill
okay.
everybody in. Gotta fill. So Rod is
My bad.
So
Oh, I'm frozen. Oh no.
So
After
filling everybody in. Rod quit smoking, and that's what he's talking about. That he's on his 6th day, and we know that like I said, I've quit smoking about, I think maybe 14 or 15 years ago, and I know how hard it is. So we're all rooting for Rod on the quitting smoking, but he kind of left the important part out and just started talking about the other. Well, here you go, Rod. Go ahead.
Yes, day 6. It's you still get the urges once in a while, but actually the spray and the gum.
Year 14, you still get the urges once. Don't worry.
Those really times that you really have one. Those are the fun. You just gotta find something else, something to take your mind off. Quickly do something else. And I'm happy. I'm looking at. I'm gonna save me a lot of money. The amount of money you can save just for quit smoking is probably give you a nice vacation every year.
Right.
And everybody else at Myrtle Beach, what are you guys thinking?
I spent all my money that I saved on smoking on drugs and hookers. Anyways, speaking of drugs and hookers, Jeter.
Well, we just on that note, we just canceled our trip to Myrtle Beach in 2 weeks. We did it this past week, so. Yeah, we're not. We just got family with pre-existing conditions, and we're just not taking the risk. And so we'll scrub it out and do something next year. they moved the All-Star race up here to Bristol in about 10 days. It'll be on a Wednesday. And they are allowing 30,000 fans. So this will be kind of the first, COVID experiment, I guess, with fans being allowed at an event. I'm going to be going unless something crazy happens, I guess, and they decide not to let fans in if a spike happens or something. But I'll keep you guys informed on that. It's going to be an interesting interesting event to go to. So I'll have more details on that later on. Other than that, hopefully Brickyard has a good race today. Hopefully we win.
It's supposed to be Steve Monahan.
No, I read a little blip about Oklahoma Sooners football. So they signed a number one dual threat quarterback, Caleb Williams, from 2021 class. They signed the number one dual threat quarterback, Spencer Rattler, from 2019. They can sign as many number one dual threat quarterbacks and offensive players as they want. As they've proven, they can score 40, 50 points a game, but they need to sign a number one dual threat defensive lineman, a dual threat linebacker, a dual threat cornerback, et cetera, et cetera. They need defense. So when I read things like that, I don't put much stock in it. And the other thing I was happy to read was that the Edmonton Eskimos are actually going to remain the Edmonton Eskimos. So I'm glad that the name change didn't happen with them. I think that would be silly. I mean, that gets to, the Eskimos, really, that type of thing. So I'm glad they were able to keep their name. That's it.
I watched the TBT yesterday. I actually tuned in and I started watching Mike dominating in the paint. I can't wait for the NBA. For a long time, I didn't watch the NBA. I came from a city where we didn't have an NBA team. We had an ABA team for 1 year, the Miami Floridians. Most had never even heard that phrase before. And, I wasn't a big fan of the NBA until I went to college in Boston, and it was the Larry Bird era, the Magic Johnson era. After that, I think the NBA has done the best job of all sports evolving. My comments about, Adam Silver, well documented. The greatest commissioner in the history of sports, Adam Silver. And I think when we see the real NBA product on the court, even with, guys sitting out, these aren't the guys that are going to make a difference in things. I think, the Pacers without Oladipo, obviously not going to be the same Pacers, but they're the same Pacers that we saw most of the season. Oladipo clearly has made it pretty clear in his comments, not sitting out because of the virus. He's sitting out because his leg is really, really messed up, and it was amazing that he was able to make it back onto the court this season at all. I guess he was in excruciating pain playing, but here's a guy that loves to play, as opposed to David Price, who loves to go to the bank. Anyways, I just think that when we see the real NBA, it's going to be the reemergence of sports, and I think people are going to kind of forget what everything else is. And I think, when we see the TBT and we see players that, can obviously play, these guys can play, but the NBA players are just a special talent, and no one's done a better job of showing that than Adam Silver. Has done a tremendous job with it. I know David Stern was a great commissioner in the NBA, kind of led them out of the dark times. But I'll tell you what, Adam Silver is the guy to lead it into the future. And if there was a guy to be a sports commissioner of all sports, this would be my guy. Anyways, bring everybody back in. Guys, another tremendous show with very little to talk about. Tomorrow is Monday with Mitch. It'll just be me. So we're hoping that something happens out there, that I have something to talk about.
Little blurb on Steve's Edmonton Eskimos not changing their name. The Edmonton Eskimos actually went out, and they actually went and did a study on the people that would have been offensive to the Edmonton Eskimos. So they went up north, and they asked all the Eskimos up north, are you offended by us calling our team the Edmonton Eskimos? And a result of that is
that's so... I gotta say,
no.
Case studies and surveys are so 1975. It's like that's why, like, so Charles, right, our guy Charles from Spread Knowledge, talked to some company in Australia who did a case study trying to decide, what you guys want as a product, right? Telling Charles that the world doesn't want Spread Knowledge, right? Just, I don't know, everybody that I ever showed it to seems to love it, right? But it's like, so that we did a focus group. I said, yeah. I called Charles because he was fuming at me over on Stripe, kind of downloading on me on Skype. And I called him up, and I never call him. I talk to Charles like once a month on the actual phone. We Skype every day, but it's like I've never really just pick up the phone and call him. I'm just like, we have a focus group too. It's called our Facebook group. And I know our guys, they'll tell us what they had for lunch. We know everything about. We're all one big happy family, and we're certainly willing to share it with one another. So, all these other big boys with their focus groups and with their, it's like, that's why they're in second place and below, right? They clearly don't get it. And I'll tell you what, man, with all the big money and all the big players come into this space, it's just more people that clearly don't get it. It just, how hard is this? Anyways, have a great day, everyone. I'll see you guys tomorrow, Monday with Mitch. Thanks again, guys, for joining me. Jeter, what do we got next week in NASCAR? We're going to Kentucky, aren't we? The Tri-Oval.
Yeah, we're going to Kentucky, I think, and I've got to check the schedule. We got a race coming up during the week next week, either next week or the week after. So we'll have to look at it.
The Tri-Oval, right, at Kentucky Motor Speedway.
Yeah, just about like Las Vegas, Chicagoland. It's more the cookie cutter, but it's got a little characteristic to it. So.
But I'll tell you, those people love their NASCAR there, man. They killed for the track. They didn't have a race. They built the track, right? If you build it, they will come. They built the track without having any race or anything like that. They got a truck race, right? They started with the truck race, and they had the highways in Kentucky were backed up for miles and miles and miles every time anything happened at that race. And all of a sudden, people started to notice, and here they are, right? They got a cup race now, right? So
yeah,
these are the places that deserve it. And guys like David Price, you deserve nothing. Anyways, have a great day, everyone.
On Thursday.
What? What, Rod?
Infinity race on Thursday.
I like Briscoe. Have a great day, everyone. I'll take Chase Briscoe.
Take him blindly.
I'll take Briscoe. Have a great day, everyone. See you tomorrow.